Lay the draw, right? Probably the most popular strategy with football traders. And we're going to do something special with it today. I'm going to show you the process of how I created a lay the draw strategy. I'm going to show you how I get all the lay the draw odds for the day. I'm also going to show you how I input that into ChatGPT and talk about how I'm using that to try and find me some value in the lay the draw market. I'm also going to show you the spreadsheet of what I've been working through with it, show how that's been going so far, show some of the analysis that you can make on your spreadsheets. And I'm also going to then go and we're going to do a live trade on Betfair. I mean, this is the whole shebang, right? We're going to look at lay the draw today. I'm going to show you how you can conquer it yourself. So the first thing I do each day is I come to the betfairtradingcommunity.com football software to get all the draw odds for that day. This is crucial, okay? I want the draw odds for the matches that are worth actually trading. And I also want to be able to use those to input those into ChatGPT. So I've got a filter and it's under my save filters. And this is very simple. It's called draw odds. And as you can see, it pulls up all the games and you can see this criteria one is their draw odds. So you can literally just look at this straight off the bat. Okay. Now it's an international break at the moment. It's so there's not a ton of games today and tomorrow morning. And as you can see here, this is how the filter is set up. It's very simple. All I'm looking at is draw odds over 1.01. I assume they all will be, obviously, pre-match. So we're going to look at this filter, and then all I have to do is export this filter, and exports all the matches and the odds for me. Now, the next step for me is I want to find value in these matches, okay? And there are ways to do that, and I'm going to show you one of the ways I do it. Obviously, you could look at these matches individually. You could actually just look at them on the software itself right now. Very easy to do, right? We can go and look at, Kajimaka, how does that look for a lay the draw? Okay, 3-0 at full time, not ideal. But anyway, you could do that. But what I wanted to do was use my concept of game theory, which, if you don't know, it's basically a term that it basically tries to extract value, and it tells you what you should do at every moment in your trading. So if you're looking for a lay the draw strategy in the outright market, you need a strategy where the expected value is higher, is a plus number, and ideally the lay the draw expected value is 5% or above. Or the draw value is actually 5% or less. I'll get into that in a bit more detail in a bit. Don't worry too much. That's not too essential. The most important thing to know is that you want the EV to be in your favor, the expected value. So the next thing I would then do is go into ChatGPT, and you can see I've input all these odds. I've given it some instructions, and I've input all these odds, and that's how we got there. So if I go to the sheet, I'll show you. This is the lay the draw instruction. There's a lot more to it. Actually, it's massive. You can't see it. It's on the screen. But this is what I input. So I copy this cell over. Very simple. Control C. Copy it over to here. Control V, paste it in, and then I copy in all the draw odds from that day, which you can see I've done here, right? So it's very simple. It's not a difficult prompt. You can all do it on ChatGPT. You could probably do it on the free version. Obviously, I've got ChatGPT 5 here. But as you can see, what it's done is it's then brought me a game theory driven analysis, okay? And it's showing me which games will be good for lay the draw betting. Okay, the first thing it does is work out implied probability. Then it looks at adjusting by league tendencies, and I've noticed that this is one of its favorite things to do. So I've banged on for years about how important the leagues are that you trade, and I think this actually proves it. I think the fact that one of the first things, if not the first thing, ChatGPT is looking to do is look at leagues and look at how they perform. And I think with your strategy, it's really, really important to work out which leagues work well and which don't. If you're looking at an over strategy, Argentina probably isn't going to be great for you. Sure, you'll get better odds, but you'll also get days like the other day where 4 out of the 6 matches or 4 out of the 5 matches are 0-0, right? So I think leagues are really important. And it's interesting. It shows you all the adjustments it makes. It shows you all the leagues that are trading that day. And then it goes through what it thinks is value, essentially. So you can see here, implied probability, true probability. Now, these are for draws where it's saying actually the odds are value on the draw. Okay, so the positive EV, this is what's important to remember when you're checking stuff like this. Negative EV is good for laying the draw. Positive EV is good for backing the draw in this calculation. Okay, that's important to know because I might look at that and go, oh, that's good EV for backing the draw. But I'm not interested in backing the draw. I want to look at laying the draw. Okay, the reason is that you've kind of got two options here. You can either trade out after a goal, or you could trade out after a couple of goals, or you can let this run. And in theory, these should do well letting them run. And as you can see, these green ticks are the matches it likes, Finn Harps and Uda Chile. Okay. Now, as I scroll down, you can see it's actually put it in a nice little box for me here. So it's very easy for me to copy onto a spreadsheet. And I've got the selection and the odds, which is ultimately the main thing I need. Now, interestingly, this Irish game, second division game, it's not going to have great liquidity. I'll show you this in a bit. So these odds are 3.5. You might even be able to get better than that. The same potentially with Uda Chile. But I don't mind that, right? Because our software works on last price matched and it updates every few minutes. But what's really key here for me is that if I'm getting worse odds when I input this data into a sheet, that's fine. Because as I test it, it will only mean that if my strategy makes money, it could even be better than that. Okay, so it kind of is a bit of yin and yang with that, and I think it's really important to have a strategy that's beating the market quite considerably. So yeah, again, it's made it even more easy for us here. We can literally just import these two columns into Excel, and we have our results, which is exactly what I do every day. And I'll take you over to my sheet on the gap and my game theory page. And you can see here, the two matches have been imported. I put them in earlier this morning. Finn Harps versus Kerry is the match we're going to focus on today because it's kicking off at a reasonable hour and not overnight. But in theory, you know, these could be value as bets for the day. Now, both of these might end up a draw, okay? There's a couple of reasons that's not the end of the world, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But also, just be aware of this, right? As I record this live trading video, this is very much just two matches, right? And I've got over 200 results here. I've been testing this a bit longer than that, but I did make a change with it, with the instruction I was giving, and that has yielded big profits so far. So I've kind of stuck with that for 230 games now, as you can see here on the sheet. Profit, I mean, you might have already noticed this. Pretty good, right? Pretty good. In the words of Larry David, £365 profit to £10 lay draw stakes. Very good, solid stuff here. Winning around 80% of the time. Okay, now this is outright. This is not trading in play. Okay, this is just if you're letting them run. Okay, now if we look specifically at some of the other stuff, the one that stands out to me here is the over 0.5 percentage. This is nearly 95%, 94.3%. Now, what this is telling us is that 94% of the time, there's going to be a goal in one of these matches. And what's going to happen if there's a goal is a lot of the time you're going to be able to take a profit. If the right team scores, you're definitely going to be able to take a profit. But it's very likely that at some point in the match, even if it ends a draw, you'll be able to take a profit. And there's a lot, what I've noticed with this is that you do get a few 2-2 scorelines. Now, if a match finishes 2-2, you're almost certainly going to be able to green up on it at some point. Often one of the teams would have gone 2-0 up, or it's 2-1 late on and someone scores an equaliser later on. That's what tends to happen. As you can see, we've actually got an Irish game here with Dublin versus Athlone. So maybe that happens again today. But I don't mind 2-2, and I'll explain why. So anyway, that's the profit, that's the result so far. I've put in all the results. But you'll probably notice I have been testing other things. So I've got the over 1.5%, I've got the over 2.5%, I've got the over 3. None of these interest me that much, apart from both teams to score, which is 63%. Now, if it carries on like this, and again, I need more data before I make any kind of definitive conclusion, but if it carries on like this, both teams to score might be the bet here. It might be the bet to make. But again, I want more data here. Average amount of goals is around 3 and ROI is 16%. Okay, so let's actually go to the match, because you're probably actually, sitting there. One of the main reasons you clicked on this is you want to see some live trading. But it's really important that we train you and that you get the theory as well before we start to trade things. So we've got the draw here in Finn Harps Kerry. We're quite a way off kickoff. So if you've got the time to wait around and you don't want to do it right now, and you're looking to trade out in play, you might want to get in on this later on. However, we are going to enter this trade now so that I don't forget to enter it later on. I've got to take my lad to football later. So yeah, I mean, sometimes when you go to these football things, you don't get it on in time, or you forget. The other thing is, I would say, when you're trading live in play, we've all got phones now, right? We've all got smartphones. Make sure that when you're trading in play, you have alerts ready on live score or flash score or whatever it is you use. I like to use just live score and football 24. They're the two I've kind of always used. I'm sure there's much better things out there, but get something that alerts you so that you don't miss it. Put the sound on your phone. Make sure you've got it all set up, because what you don't want is to just get distracted. I mean, how easy is it, by the way, when you have kids, to just get distracted and then go, oh, I totally forgot about the game today, because my kid was running around like a headless chicken and it was the witching hour, the hour before bed. And look, even if you don't have kids, there's plenty of things in life that can distract us, especially in this digital age that we live in. So yeah, I like this price, right? 3.4. See, the main danger here is that it ends 0-0. Okay, and there's every chance that happens, right? But that is the main danger on our trade here. The other thing to think is that if there is a goal, well, the team's odds are pretty close together. So it's very likely, if there's a goal, the draw odds will drift a bit. Okay, now unless this happens, maybe in the first couple of minutes in the away team scores, maybe that doesn't happen. But you got to think, when the odds are this close, I mean, the draw odds are literally the same odds as the away team. And the 2.46 to 3.25 is not a massive gap. So these two teams are kind of expected to be similar quality. Obviously, Kerry's an underdog, but they're playing away. So on a neutral field, this might even be both teams with 2.8, right? And the draw is a similar price to what it is now. That might be the way it goes in that situation. The next thing you're going to want to think of here, and again, I want to go through a lot of the training here. We are going to do the trade, but I want to train you in it, because it's no use. Like, I see people on YouTube, they do trades or they show a bunch of trades, and it's like they don't give you the theory or explain why they're doing what they're doing. They just go, hey, look at me, I can put 100 quid on a trade, I can put £1,000. And it's no use to you as a training concept. What I want you to think about here is one thing you should notice is there is really low liquidity on this market. Okay, there is not much money on this market. Okay, not too much of an issue for an outright bet, because if you're laying outright, and we thought 3.5 was value, so we sure as hell don't mind 3.4, and we might even be able to get a better price. We'll have a look in a second. The other thing to note is that it does go in play. Some of these matches don't go in play. If you're trying to trade out, you need to know that it's going in play. Go and check that this little tick box is here on the left-hand side, and that will help sort you out. It's also going to have cash out, which will make it easier for you to get out of your trade if you want to do it that way. I quite like doing it manually normally. We'll see how things go. I might just take cash out. We'll see what happens at the time, how good liquidity is. That is the struggle, though. If you are planning to trade this in play, the liquidity might not be good enough. So just bear that in mind. You're not going to want to go too heavy here. I mean, we're testing at £10 stakes. £10 here as a lay stake is absolutely fine. It should be fine to get that matched as well after the goal is scored. Just bear in mind, you might have to wait a minute or two to green up. There could be another goal scored in that time. So there are some downsides to this. One way to get around that is just to bet on the bigger matches, and that's fine. If you want to wait for that opportunity, absolutely do that. Let's see what price we can get here. I don't think we'll get 3.3, but we'll have a go. Because sometimes when you sit these bets, the market will actually just take that price. The only thing you don't want to do, you see, I've just got to 3.35 match there. So you don't want to sit there and just take 3.4 when you can get a better price, which ultimately, my liability would have been higher at odds of 3.4. Now, I'm happy to take the 14p at 3.4 because it makes 1p difference. But you can see here, can't you, that instead of having £24 liability with 3.4, I've now got 23.51. That 50p can add up, right? So that's why you should try and take a price that's in between the two prices on these low liquidity markets. You can see the money's there. Someone is literally ready to match your bet at 3.35, but they're not showing yet until the money's there. Then it automatically. I don't know. I'm assuming people just set up bots to do it. Whatever. It doesn't matter to me. It's great for me. It means I can get my trade matched. Now, the big danger with this trade is the 0-0 scoreline. Okay. Now, if you wanted, you could watch this in play and then decide, well, I really don't think there's going to be a goal. Maybe I'll just cut my losses. Okay. I've got a lot of faith in this system. So I know that even if this finishes 0-0, I'll be able to recover it. I think there was a match yesterday. Because I always think it's good to look at the results to kind of get an understanding of that. And yeah, Aston Villa women versus Leicester City women yesterday was 0-0, right? Now, we had a couple of 0-0s on the weekend, but they were the first 0-0s we'd had in, let's have a look here. So that was the last 0-0 before that. So 138 goes all the way to 213. It's nearly 100 results, right? So that's around, 70, 75, 70? Yeah, 75 results were not 0-0, which means we should have a really good chance most of the time to be able to take a profit in these matches. That's why that 94% interests me. But if you just wanted to do it as an outright lay, I mean, £365 profit to £10 lay stakes is pretty impressive, right? Again, I want more data on this. And there's every chance that it starts to go downhill. But what I want you to think more about, rather than this particular strategy in and of itself, is when you're creating strategies, applying this information, applying this knowledge theory, and then when you get into your live trades. We took better odds than we could have done there. A lot of people would have just taken 3.4, thinking, well, that's the only odds we can get. And again, you might look at that and go, 50p, it cares about 50p. You can't even buy anything with 50p. Well, I'll tell you what, it adds up a lot over time when that happens. And the more 50p's you can save in Betfair trading, the more money you'll make in the long run. So we're going to come back either when this is in play or at the end of the match, depending on what happens and my recording schedule. But yeah, we'll come back and we'll see what happens with this match, and then we'll talk through kind of a conclusion. Okay, so I've realised the Uda Chile game, which I was checking out to trade, is actually an 8 o'clock kickoff as well. So we can trade these games concurrently. This will actually be quite good because this is actually a different example. This is an example of a game where the home team is quite a strong favourite, odds of 1.8 versus 5.0. Now, again, going back to the odds, we saw the odds were 4.1. Okay, now they are now 3.95. This market is at least the over round's fine. There's still not a ton of liquidity, only £600. So we're going to lay here, and we can trade these matches, like I say, concurrently. But in this one, we are looking for the home team to take the lead, or the away team to get a lead late on, or a 2-goal lead in the match. So this will be an interesting one to trade, and I'll show you kind of the thought process as we go through that. So one thing I wanted to do before any goals are scored, as you can see in play, this Finn Harps match has started. Now, what a lot of people do is they sit there and kind of stress, because what will happen if there's no goal is that the draw odds will come in, and you can see I got it 3.35, it's come into 3.2 because 15 minutes have gone and it's still 0-0. Now, for me, as an experienced trader, there's no panic at this moment, but a lot of people do panic. So my message would be, do not panic. Don't watch that cash out amount if it stresses you out, and stick to your plan pre-match. My plan here is going to be, if there's a goal, I'll trade out and I'll take a profit, or maybe even perhaps a loss. Although again, in this scenario, it's unlikely it's going to be a loss. Possible red card. Okay, well, that will help with our lay the draw odds. The other thing with the Chilean game is I'm going to do the same thing on both games. Okay, if there's a goal, I'm going to trade out. Now, win or lose, I'm going to show you the results, and we'll go through those and we'll analyze what happens and kind of whether there's anything we could have done differently if it doesn't go well. But as you can see, both games have kicked off now. So the UDA Chile game again has kicked off. Interestingly, actually, I like the fact that the liquidity on this match has gone up a fair bit. Okay, so it's really good that £10,000 match now when there was hardly any earlier in the day. And again, it can be better to get on near a kickoff if you can. The UDA Chile odds actually have come in a bit, or came in a bit. I think it was around 3.8 kickoff, something like that. Looks like there might have been a goal here. So the home team has scored by the looks of it, which is exactly what we wanted. 3 minutes in. Now this is where, from a trading out point of view, we could just cash out. It's pretty simple here. Let's see if we can get that match. There we go. Very simple trade. We know that 95% of the time we're going to be able to cash out. And again, because the market's gone on the right side for us, it was very simple. We didn't really have to do any analysis in play. Now, we might have to do more with the Finn Harps game. Like I say, these do work well as outright bets, but obviously if you can take a profit in play, then that's going to be the thing that you're going to want to do if you're an in-play trader. And I do feel like with Betfair trading, it's much easier to have a successful strategy when you trade in play than if you're trying to just have outright betting strategy that works. I'm trying to develop this because it's easier to have an outright betting strategy, but also looking at the stats, we can see this works as an in-play strategy as well. I'll go through some of the analysis of that trade we just made. Interestingly, in this Finn Harps Kerry game, remember what I said about the odds being close between the teams? In play, the odds are now all within one tick of each other on all three outcomes, which is amazing. This is perfect for lay the draw because if there is a goal, the odds have to go out on the draw, almost certainly. In my opinion, we'll see what happens, but yeah, it's unlikely that they won't go out at least a little bit. They're probably not going to go out humongously unless it's late in the match. And that's one thing you'll notice for that first trade. Because the goal was early, we didn't get a massive cash out. We still made a profit and we risked our money for 3 minutes. So not the end of the world. But the later in the game, the better it can be for profit in terms of late the draw. Okay, well, there was a goal. Kerry scored. As I expected, the odds went out. I managed to greened up around 4.1, 4.2. I think it's around £2 profit. Made around a fiver there pretty quickly, pretty easily. Obviously using a small lay stake for lay the draw, knowing that 95% of the time the goal is going to come in. And this is what I'm talking about, where you've got the opportunity to trade out and play, and you can do that. Another option again would be to stay until the end and see how you got on in that case. But I honestly, I think that it's something you kind of have to discover. What are you comfortable with? Are you someone who likes to kind of take the risk as far as you can, or do you want to get your investment out with a smaller bit of interest, but actually having that money out and not having to risk it for a long time? As I say, had the games gone on towards the end and it looked like there wasn't going to be a goal, you always have the option to trade out and take a loss. Not a ton of value in that with a strategy like this, in my opinion, but that's never really been my preferred way of trading. I much prefer to get in situations like this where I feel like the odds are in my favour, found a bit of value in the lay the draw, and managed to green up. Now, you might think, why on this picture? This is actually a really good example of this happening, where if I go over to Betfair here, you can see it's 2-1. Oh, it's come back now by the looks of it. Let's see if I can get, because Betfair was down for a few minutes and I was struggling. Okay, cool. I won't need my phone picture then. I should be able to get. Again, it looks like struggling again here. But anyway, we did manage to get out of that Irish trade. Let's see if I can get this up. Okay, so finally managed to get it up. But yeah, Betfair was playing up. So a couple of things to note with that. One, I was able to trade out on the mobile app, which I was going to show you a picture of, but I don't need to now because you can see on the actual exchange how we got on. So again, that's an option. Be aware of that. If you do have trouble with Betfair, actually, it turns out that the app seems to be working better sometimes when that happens. Remember, another good bit of training advice for you, have a backup exchange in place. Be ready to get on BetDAC or Smarkets, have a bit of money in there for a situation like this so that you can take your money out, green up. Or worst case scenario, just get out of the trade with minimal loss. It's not ideal. It's not ideal when this stuff happens, but it does happen. Luckily, there are ways to mitigate it, and we've been able to do that today just by getting on the mobile app, which is really helpful. So let's look at the two trades as a whole, because you're probably sitting there going, well, hang on, you've just traded, £10 stake, and here you are taking, in this case, 20% profit of that stake, well, just over 18%. Then in the other case, nearly 30% profit with the Uda Chile game. Well, here's the thing. Again, you're investing your money and you're not having to stick it in for very long. As you saw there, 2 matches over pretty quickly, both before half time. Actually, we're able to green up. I don't have to have a stress now. It's 8:40 in the evening. I've had a busy day. Now I can go chill out, watch a bit of Andor. Really good show, by the way, if you get a chance. Star Wars. Watch a bit of that before I go to bed. That's kind of the relaxing side of trading on Betfair. You can let these run. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The other thing is you could maybe wait till later in the game. You might want to green up at 70 minutes, 80 minutes, depending on the scoreline. Maybe Kerry goes 2-0 up and you can take a really big win. Uda Chile did go 2-0 up, so you would have been able to take a big win there. Again, any of those approaches work because the point is you're actually getting value in the longer term. So even if you look at this here where we had a £23 liability, we've made nearly 10% of that money on this trade. Now, we know that 94% of the time there's a goal. In this match in particular, both teams were similar odds. So we knew the odds would go out if there was a goal. And you can see here, the odds have gone out to 4.2. We got in at 3.35. We knew that was going to happen, right? We knew the market was going to have to push the draw odds out because the odds were so close between the two teams. So that can actually be a really good spot. If you are sitting there going, I kind of want to cherry pick, I want to work out which matches I want to trade, that's a great way of doing it. What did we do? We went and got the draw odds, right? We went and got the draw odds from here and we used that, obviously. Again, you can look at the games like the Finn Harps game, and then you can look at deeper into the stats. Is this something that you want to trade? Is it something you don't want to trade? Is it something that makes sense to you as a trader? That's always something you should be thinking about. So I'm hoping this video has really helped you today. We've kind of worked out, how to create a good strategy. We've gone and got the draw odds from betfairtradingcommunity.com and we've gone and traded the matches. And I've talked you through the thought process. We've done the training. I talked you through the theory. I trained you on that, kind of explained the logic behind it. And then we actually did a live demonstration. In fact, 2 live demonstrations of matches running concurrently. Hopefully that's helped you with your trading. Hopefully you will find that helpful. If you actually want a copy of this draw odds filter, just say the word draw in the comments and I will send that to you. If you want a copy of the free strategies we have, just say the word free in the comments and I will send those over to you as well. I think that just about covers it, right? If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel. Please keep watching. Train yourself in Betfair trading. We are literally just here to make you a better Betfair trader. Anything we can do to help with that, let us know. Let us know in the comments. If there's anything you want me to cover, if there's any topic, if there's any markets, let me know and I'll obviously try and get around to those because I think it's really important that you guys get the training you need because there's a lot of people out there that will tell you, hey, I'm a really good trader and do some live trading, but you don't see the training, you don't understand the thought process, or you get a lot of people who just do theory and all they talk about is the process, but you never see the proof of concept, you never see it in action. So I want to try and combine that in videos moving forward. And if this is a format you've enjoyed, I know it's a bit longer, then let me know in the comments and I'll keep doing that. Have a great week, everyone. I hope your Betfair training goes well this week. If you need any help from me, you know where I am. You can always comment and I will talk to you. We do try and get back to everyone in the comments. So if you do have something to say and you want to talk to us, then, go ahead and talk. But anyway, have a great week. And obviously, I hope you make some money trading on Betfair.